This is in the text, chapter 17. And this is what one of the chosen ways, as the Course says, its chosen way of healing our relationships is through forgiveness here. That's what it says. It's all through it. What is forgiveness? And forgiveness isn't finding someone's fault or finding your own fault and then forgiving it. Forgiveness is really an act of love. It's an act of seeing past the illusions that so many of us hold about ourselves and moving to the truth, moving to love. So past the darkness to the light. The first paragraph in this section called Shadows of the Past, let me just read number 1. It's a very, very long paragraph, but that gives us kind of a running start because then we'll read paragraph number 2. It says, to forgive is merely to remember only the loving thoughts you gave in the past and those that were given you. So to remember only the love. All the rest must be forgotten. Forgiveness is a selective remembering based not on your selection. For the shadow figures you would make immortal are enemies of reality. And think about that for a minute. We hold on to. That's why even in forgiveness, we can't do it. We have decided what forgiveness means. We have decided the definition of forgiveness. The Course comes along and gives us a brand new definition of forgiveness. It's telling us to remember only the loving thoughts that were given in the past. And sometimes people think, wow, then I have to let go of what was done to me. No, we're not talking about letting go of what was done to you. What I am saying is what we know about the world is that everything, every communication in this experience of the world is an extension of love or a call for love, right? That is the definition that the Holy Spirit sees in it. Everything is an extension of love or a call for love. And we don't see it that way. It says we see the shadow figures that are witnesses that you bring with you to demonstrate that something was done to you, that they did what they did not, that they've done something in reality. And when the Course is telling us all anyone can do, because all anyone is the experience of love, and I don't want to be afraid of love today. I don't want to make excuses for what I think is not love. Everything is an opportunity for love. So everything is an extension of love or a call for love. And again, the form is where we have trouble with it, you know? And yet we're moving past the form to the content. And that's what this is talking about. Forgiveness becomes a selective remembering based not on your selection. See, we get stuck in our definitions of things, in our interpretations of actions. And what this is saying is forgiveness is a selective remembering based on the Holy Spirit's selection, not yours. So He can help you to see this a new way if you are willing to do so. If you are willing to let go of the judgments. If you are willing to not be afraid of love today. If we are willing to do this not only for ourselves, but to do this for the world. Otherwise, we're stuck in fear because we think we know. We think we've figured it out. We think we understand, and we don't. And it goes on to say, the shadow figures, and these are the things we hold on to, and instead of using them as actual proof, what does it call them? Shadows. Shadows that we have made up are the witnesses that we bring to demonstrate somebody did something to me, or I did something to someone else. And because you bring them, because you have investment in them, you will hear them. So that means our judgments about people in the past of what they've done to us, we keep reliving it until we stop that. You know, it's easy to keep replaying it because we're the ones that are replaying it in our own little ears, and we hear it the way we want to hear it, right? And sometimes it's when another person gives us another perspective on it that it can kind of bring sanity to us. Or we can bring it to the Holy Spirit, where we take the darkness to the light, and the shadow figures become calls for love or extensions of love. And you who keep them by your own selection do not understand how they came into your mind and what their purpose is. They represent the evil that you think was done to you. So at some basis, what this is telling us is what we think others do is what we think we have done. Does that make sense? What we see in others, we could not see if we did not first think that it could have been a part of us. We couldn't understand it. It wouldn't make sense to us. I think that's kind of why when you think about it, children are very innocent and they don't think anybody's ever going to hurt them. And this is a terrible way of thinking about it. So when the first time somebody does do something, an adult does do something that's kind of horrendous, it's sort of sad. It's sad because they lose their innocence. And that's the world kind of playing out what we've done to ourselves in our own thoughts and our own minds. We've done something. We've lost our innocence. The world plays it out in some terrible ways. But the reality is we can never lose our innocence. And that's what we have to re-find. That's why it's saying, these are not easy concepts. I will not be afraid of love today. I don't understand what love is, and I've made love into something fearful. I need to learn a new definition of it, just like I need a new definition of forgiveness. I need to stop bringing the same shadow figures from the past into my experience of life right now. I need to be awakened from that. Number 1, paragraph 1, line 10. You bring them with you that you may return evil for evil, hoping that their witnesses will enable you to think guiltily of another and not harm yourself. So much easier to see the problem in somebody else as opposed to me. And yet taking responsibility for the fact that I could not see it in another if I did not first have that thought, and not necessarily in like form, but that thought of fear, that thought of littleness within myself. You know, if I could not first see it or experience that within myself, I could never see it in another. That helps us not to beat ourselves up and make ourselves terrible, but to release us from it, to begin the process of releasing it. That's what I think, frankly, happened when Jesus went into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. I think it was his time when he said he wrestled with the devil to wrestle with his own thoughts of anger and attack and judgment. Because I think he had them. You know, I think he had to deal with it, his own ego, to finally, in essence, tame it. We think of him as taming maybe the devil. What he tamed were those fear thoughts that locked him into seeing that in others. And by being able to face it, he could transcend them. Same thing that we're asked to do, too. We're asked to look at these and ask for help so that we can move past them and through them, past those shadow figures. They speak so clearly for the separation that no one not obsessed with keeping separation could hear them. So these shadow figures, these things we see outside of us, speak so much for keeping us separate from them that unless we cherish that thought of separation within our hearts, we wouldn't hear it, we wouldn't focus on it. Well, I have to admit to you, I have a lot of trouble with Donald Trump. You know, I'm not gonna go any further, you know, but I do. And I see myself in this all the time. It is so much easier. I could never do that. And yet I know that unless I look at that and see that, I can't say his name with the word president. It is a tough thing for me. They speak so clearly for the separation that no one not obsessed with keeping separation could hear them. I am, at this point, it is a challenge for me because I am obsessed with keeping those two separate. So it is a challenge for me to say constantly, I will not be afraid of love today. You know, I let forgiveness rest on this. Some days I'm better than others. Okay? But that's what we're asked to do. We're asked to do that. And I'm not telling you this so I can get letters. I'm telling you this so I can be fully honest with you that this is a challenging thing for me. You may not have that trouble with it. You know, so you have your own areas. But this is constantly telling me that I need to look at this and to allow love to replace my thoughts of anger and judgment and attack. That I need to let forgiveness rest on this. You have your own. Sometimes it's not him, sometimes it's other people. But they're all the same. It's always the same thing. They offer you the reasons why you should enter into unholy alliances to support the ego's goal and make your relationships the witness to its power. And I like to sometimes join with those who feel the same way as I do. but it doesn't seem to ever give me the charge it used to give me, because I realize that I'm not healing when all I do is dwell in the darkness, dwell in that area or that valley of separation. Doesn't really help me much. And so if it's not helping me, why do I keep doing it?